everyone. So that was Michael James Scott in Disney's Aladdin, and we're so thrilled to have him here this year for the Audacy New York Pride Month Town Hall. Let's give a big Broadway applause for Michael James Scott of Disney's Aladdin! Woo! Thank you so much! We have to represent because you're a Broadway star, so we can't be wallflowers here and do a little, like, you know, royal clapping here, right? Yes, right? Deserves it. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have you sit here, right? Thank you so much for coming here, by the way. It's incredible to see you, not in person. And before we get into all the nitty-gritty, I got to say, it's kind of funny seeing you because you're kind of not like a one-and-done person to see on Broadway. You don't see. You are on outdoor ads. I just saw you on my local TV ad. I Google Disney's Aladdin once. You're on every Google ad for like the next, like yesterday, right? So what is that? Before we get into that, I just want to ask you first, what's that like? I mean, you're kind of everywhere.
I mean, you listen, to see my,
Oh, sorry, yes.
There's a microphone. There we are.
Oh, now.
That's better.
Yes, much better, much better. We're dramatic here.
What is it like? It's like, I mean, seeing your chocolate face around the town is absolutely ridiculous. It's so funny. I feel like the first time I saw it, I was like, wow. But now what's fun about it is if like I'm with people or I'm with someone and they don't know, like I've had someone actually ask me, can you take a photo by like can you take a photo for me, just like a New York moment, you know, can you? I'm like, oh, sure. And as that happens, my bus like comes by and I like to like do a little, like I've actually taken a selfie once with it behind me and just I didn't even tell them, and just so that maybe they'll look in the thing. But I it's a dream. I mean, it's a dream come true. I don't even know.
So do you relate to Carrie Bradshaw in the first Sex and the City when you see the bus driving by and it splashes her in water and she's on the bus side of the bus or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. Because some of the photos have, like, you know, there are certain photos where like they may be like there's been like a little a coloring of my eye, and I'm like, okay, I have a blue eye now.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's like, it's just like funny.
It.
Yeah, it's like a Photoshop. But no, it's amazing. I mean, it's such a cool thing to be able to see any kind of, for me, any face of color, face of part of an, you know, the LGBTQ plus community on a billboard, on an ad or anything, like a face that is othered, if you will, is a pretty beautiful thing. And the fact that it's my face, I still don't even really, I can't even, it doesn't even comprehend to me, to be honest with you.
Okay, all right, so let's get in now to the nitty gritty of why we're here. So I do want to dive in though, too. You were 13 years old. You came here to New York.
Yes.
You were bitten by the Broadway bug, I understand.
Yes.
Take it away. Tell us what happened.
Oh, gosh.
And we are going to go back to age 6 when you moved to Orlando. But I want to start when you were bitten by the bug.
I love it. I love it.
We're gonna be bouncing around here.
I love it. Well, I did my first trip to New York City when I was, you said, like 13. I was in 9th grade, and my drama teacher brought our theater group to see. We saw 8 shows in 7 days.
Wow.
Right. I mean, it was like
for all those 8 shows on Broadway.
Well,
you know how much Broadway tickets are.
I know. Well, that's the thing. That was a part of the whole, like, you know, price of the trip. And P.S. just to sort of like give you some backs to this, my church took up a collection for me to go. And it's not lost on me. You know, I have angels, people who believed in me, who saw something in me when I didn't even believe or see something in myself.
Mm-hmm.
But they were, you know, they literally took up a collection, you know, singing gospel, like taking, you know, like collections for their boy to go to New York City and see a Broadway show.
Yeah.
And we got off the plane at like 2. I remember like about 2 something in the afternoon, and I remember, oh, there's me, Pride Month. There, I was just looking at myself with a little moment. That's like such a pride photo. It's like, hey!
Thank you. There was a big photo selection process there.
I love it so much. Yes.
Okay, New York.
So I'm in. We get off the plane at 2:00. They were like, "You have to change. We have an 8:00 show to get to," and we were like, "Oh my god!" Like, okay. Yeah, so we checked into the hotel. Everyone changed into, and we're #theater nerds. So we're all in like full outfits. You know, I think I'm wearing a sweater vest. Like, I think I'm like amazing. Like all the things. We go to our first Broadway show, which was at the Palace Theater at the time, and it happened to be a Disney on Broadway show. It was Beauty and the Beast. Oh. And fun little fact, I saw my first Broadway show where I did my first Broadway show, which is also crazy. Universe God, a la Buddha, being like, here you go. But I saw Beauty and the Beast, and I've told this story before. There I was sitting in the orchestra, seeing my first Broadway show, and during Be Our Guest, you know, the big Be Our Guest number, and all the dancing silverware, you know, that is there was this black man in the ensemble who was he was a spoon. And I thought, oh my God, I could be the spoon.
Relatable,
and
right?
Literally, it changed my whole trajectory of my life because I saw representation. I saw, and you know, representation matters because it's a physical manifestation of your dream when you can actually see it in front of you. But that for me, I saw it, and the spoon is a metaphor for, like, I'm literally the spoon and the fork and the knife and everything on Broadway right now because I'm playing the genie. It's like everything in the kitchen sink. But the spoon represents so many things. That's how I got to experience and see my first Broadway show. I was hit by this emotion of possibility, and thus my, you know, little journey of wanting to be on Broadway. I'd always wanted to be, but actually seeing it and then seeing that there was someone who actually kind of, you know, this little chocolate spot right over there. And I thought, wow, holy moly, this is possible.
And the seed
and
was
there
planted.
it is, and the seed was planted.
Okay, so now I want to just reverse a little bit now to when you were 6 years old, and
Yes.
then you and your family, you moved from Baltimore to Orlando, right? So this got me thinking, okay, well, there's kind of a Disney seed there already planted. So we're talking about from the age of 6 to 13. So what was going on with those 7 years? Because you were in the epicenter of all things Disney. Were you like, oh my God, I've arrived? Like, here's this like gay kid. Maybe you weren't there yet, but like this gay.
Oh, I was gay from the time I was
like,
entered to the world. My mom used to buy me
this like big gay theater star. You're like, I've arrived.
Yeah,
it's Orlando, right?
Yes. My mom used to buy me Victoria's Secret lotion when I was like in middle school. Please, like, you know, as I said to her, I'm like, basically, you were like, I got you, boo, at that age. So, you know, it's fine.
But yeah, so tell me, so 6, you go to Orlando. So what happened there? You go to Orlando.
We go to Orlando. So we moved to Orlando because my parents, we were in Baltimore, inner city Baltimore. Like, we lived downtown, hardcore. I don't know if any of you have ever seen The Wire or know that The Wire, right? Like, we lived there. Like, that was the area. Like, it's no joke, you know. And I have such a love for Baltimore. My family's still there. But my parents, we were there. My mom and my dad, when we were 6 years old, my mom and my dad said they just did not want their 2 black boys to be at that, you know, time and the reality of what was happening in the inner city, a black male statistic. Another black male statistic. So they picked up and moved to Orlando, Florida. Why, you ask, Orlando, Florida? My aunt and my uncle were in the military, and they settled. They were stationed down in Florida, and they ended up settling in Orlando. And my aunt said, my Aunt Phyllis, may she rest in peace, said to my mom, just come here. And they picked up and left. And it's so crazy to me when I think about that, like the brave, like, you know, that's very brave. They had no idea what they were doing. They were also very young. My mom had me when she was 19. My dad was 20. Like, they were very, very, very young. So it was just sort of like the survival mode, right? So there they are. They move us down. They wanted us to, you know, have maybe some better opportunities, better lives in the suburbs, if you will. And that's really where literally changed my brother and I's life. You know, I was at 6 years old when I met my my choir teacher, my music teacher there in Orlando. They were like, "What can we do? Like, there's something special about your boy." My parents were like, "Yeah, do something with him." You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know what to do with me. I mean, I was literally like just this chocolate chubby child who wanted to run around and sing and dance in Orlando, Florida. It didn't matter where you did it. I just sang and danced anywhere. And there was where I have, as I say, it didn't matter the color of my skin, where I came from. There were people who were just like, wow, what can we do to help? They just saw the wonderment in this child's eyes. And the potential, exactly. And I was a show kid. So literally, my teachers were like taking me to auditions and for commercials and like all kinds of things. And I started I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. I was just like, okay, sure. And there I started. And of course, I ended up working at Disney when I was like very little and doing things for the company because of this. So it was in that sort of transition from Baltimore to Orlando. And there I was in the mecca of like, you know, Disney, Nickelodeon, you know, SeaWorld. I mean, literally, it was just like all the theme parks and all the like things all at once, all in one place where you could just kind of go. And I did.
And you were like singing and dancing. It really
everywhere.
allowed you, like everything. Like
everywhere.
You were allowed to, yeah.
I was allowed to, I was, because, so I say this a lot. My parents just said yes to literally everything. And I always say that, you know, anytime I do classes or anything, I talk about this idea of parents just saying yes. You know, children will show you who they are. And they never put any kind of like thing on me of like expectations that they had. It was really about what we wanted, my brother and I, and they just said yes. They literally just said yes to whatever. I mean, my brother was doing pottery. I was doing, you know, dancing. They had no idea what. Just said yes. Boy Scouts, that lasted for a summer when we had to go and camp.
Did
and
the
I was
Victoria's
like,
Secret lotion have anything to do with it? Or?
Maybe, yes, and then maybe I brought too much of it, and so they were like, maybe, I don't know, but I love Boy Scouts. It was after that summer of camping in a tent, I was like, this ain't for me at all. So there's that.
All right, so we have Aunt Phyllis to thank for getting you guys to Orlando, really,
we do,
right?
We do,
and starting
do.
that whole thing. All right, so let's get a little bit into your teens now. We're talking of Pride Month, and you know, this is where things start to happen with LGBT community.
Yeah.
Where are you kind of at your journey in your identity there?
So, you know, I grew up obviously down in Florida, but I also grew up in the church, and like we talked about my church taking up a collection for me, and you know, being a church boy is a wonderful, it's a very complicated thing. As someone who it was not quote unquote going to be probably going into what was considered normal and to the rest of the world, which was being gay. Like okay, it's a sin. Like it's like all the things, right? So it's a Southern Baptist church, and you know, Black Southern Baptist church, and what that means. So I grew up in that. I grew up around gospel music. I loved what gospel music did to the congregation, how it moved everyone. It moved me in particular, which is why I still to this day, it's like the root of my musical thing. But it's interesting because whether or not I sort of said it out loud, I knew that I was different. But it wasn't, even when I would hear, you know, maybe like it was quote unquote wrong, or I don't know what it was in me. And maybe I always say to my mom, I'm like, I don't really know. Like, what did you have? What kind of child did you have? Because in my head, I was like, well, I'm just going to be me. It's kind of crazy. And so I just did me. Like,
But
it
you
was
weren't struggling. Like
no.
Mhm.
And so when my heart goes out to so many of our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters who have gone through real trauma and real some really heartbreaking stories. Because for me, I just didn't like. I was wearing tights in like high school, walking around and like daring someone to like make fun of me. Like, I literally was like,
you were
"And what?"
fearless.
Fearless. And I think part of it was because I was always told you can do what you can be whatever you want to be.
Yes, like the power of yes.
The power of yes. And so I also surrounded myself at a very young age, whether I knew it or not, with people who were like really open, and friends, other kids who were just like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And we were sort of this like misfits of like power, I'm like, meanwhile, I'm like, think about that now. I'm like, what were we doing? I'm like, who did we think we were? But I think we just thought we were fierce, and I think we just thought that we belonged as well. So I never ever, in my head, I never felt like I was an outcast, because I always felt like there were so many people who, for me, I thought, well, they just don't know what they're missing.
Yeah.
So that was always my
You
outlook.
don't know the real me. You're the.
Yeah, and even when I was a big boy, right? And so like being like even when I was like attracted to other boys or attracted to like what that was for me, it was very different, because I wasn't quote unquote the like hot guy. Like, that wasn't like the hot kid, right? Yeah. And what that symbolized for me physically, mentally, as I started growing up, and my teen years, how that manifests, this idea of like identity and like beauty and like all of that, right? Because it wasn't. I think I was so. For a long time, I was like the funny kid. I was sort of like the happy kid, and it wasn't about like the hot kid. And so that's a very interesting mental thing that you go through as a teen, and how you identify yourself. And so when someone, I was also a late bloomer, and so when I will never forget a guy saying to me like, I think you're cute, and I literally just like laughed. Like, I just laughed, and because I didn't.
This is when we do a collective. Really?
Well, because I just didn't see myself as cute or sexy or hot or any of that, because I was always just being Michael. I was just sort of kind of just being like a jolly boy. And so I think that during my teenage years, that was what was the focus, which is a very interesting thing. And it wasn't until a little bit later, like the high school, the college era, where someone said that to me.
Yeah.
And I literally just laughed and had to figure out what that meant, and then like figure out like how that I was going to respond to that.
And then, would you think were there any confidence issues, or is it just a perception of yourself?
Like, oh no, I was
later. If you're saying you thought you were fierce and all this, I don't think there's any confidence issues.
I was always confident. Yeah. I definitely was, but I was never. I was always confident in Michael being, like, just like, really just like a cool person. Like, I thought I'm confident because like I'm fierce, but I was never confident in my sort of my sexuality.
Yes.
That has been a very different. That was a much longer journey. So the confidence was just about being, this boy who lived in his light, and not a boy. And I think, and now there's a, from that boy who lived in his light to this boy who is light is a very different thing. And figuring out that journey, I think, has been something that I'm still on, but living my light and not living in my light.
All right. That sounds good. That makes sense. Okay, wait. Okay, so now let's talk about the process of coming out? Because obviously it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
It's not one time. I know in particular how you came out to your dad. You were just like, "Hey, do you want to meet my boyfriend?" Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, so take it away. So, and I like that this isn't that you just were like nonchalant. It sounds like it.
It was so anticlimactic. Like, it was just in my head. I had like because I'm an actor. I'm dramatic. In my head, there was like a full like Elphaba, like The Wizard and I, like moment. Like there was like a full song. You know what I mean? Like in my head, it was all of those things, right? And like me, like arising from like the thing.
Stage door would
Yes, open, and I rise. I'm like, but I'm here. You know what I mean? It was not like that at all. It was so. We were at a TGI Fridays.
Of course, right? Very low key.
Which is where everything happens for some reason. We were at TGI Fridays. I'm like, why? And now I'm like, why was I at TGI Fridays? Like, why was that going to be the place that I came out? So we were at TGI Fridays, and I said to my dad, I said, so I have a boyfriend, and I would love for you to meet him. I said, how do you feel about that? And he was like, well, are you happy? And I was like, and it threw me off so hardcore, but I was like, yeah. And then he said, does he make you, are you happy? And I said, yes. And he said, and does he make you happy? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, then that's all I care about.
Nice. Right?
And I was like, Dad, that was so anticlimactic. Like,
you're like, I'm an actor. I want drama.
I wanted a full, like back and forth. Like, no, what are you talking about? No, I mean, like, just like all the things. And it wasn't that at all. And it was just so simple and beautiful. And that is coming from a black man, a cis, straight black man who grew up in the inner city Baltimore streets, and for him to just sort of say it like that, it blew me away. It just blew me away, and that was it.
That's incredible. And then any other sort of coming out stories? Because again, it's sometimes a process. Any other family members or friends, coworkers? It was pretty.
It was interesting. My mom, which is so interesting, and my husband and I talk about this. She got married.
I want to get to your husband. Before we jump back to you, is the boyfriend the same as the husband now?
Yes.
It is. Okay, so we're gonna get to your boyfriend shortly then, which is a great. Okay, tell me about your mom first.
So my mom, interestingly, who bought me Victoria's Secret lotion, right? Like all the things. I think my mom was bothered by it more and didn't really quite. I don't think it really manifested for her until it was real that her son was going to be with another man. And I think, she had been around gay people in the church, because there are a lot of them. And I've seen it. I have that story where I ran into my choir director at a gay club when I first came back from my first year of college, and we were literally just dancing, and all of a sudden it was like the Red Sea open, and there he was with his shirt off, hot by the way, shirt off. It was tucked to his back, and he was living in it. And I was like, and he saw me, and he was like, and I was like, I won't tell anybody. Don't worry. Meanwhile, we go. I run out the door. And I'm like, Mom, oh my God. Literally, that is a true story. It was everything. It blew my mind. I was basically that the whole time. Just on the dance floor. It's crazy. So anyway, but my mom, I think that my mom, she I mean, you know, my mom works full-time at the church. She is a church woman. Like she is the like executive assistant at my church and still is to this day. You know, she has her own parking spot at the church. Like,
she's legit.
Like
right?
full legit, like it says Karen Scott. Like, but, you know, and so I think that I don't think it was as easy for her that I think I in my head thought it was going to be. So I had to just basically say, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And you have to come along for the ride or else. Like, this is what it is.
Yes.
So it's interesting that it was an opposite thing. In my head, I thought that my dad would be the one. And cut to, I think my dad was actually someone who helped make it easier for my mom. Just very interesting.
And were you like, P.S., you're the one who bought me lotion when I was little?
Yes. I literally, I'm like, you bought me Victoria's Secret lotion. Like, you bought me, or Bath and Body Works Sweet Pea. Like, hello. Like, what's happening right now?
Right?
I'm like, y'all remember Sweet Pea. Y'all know exactly what that scent is. Or like, what's there's the pink one that's like, oh my gosh, was it rose or strawberry? I can't remember. It was
Rose petal.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. There's a very specific smell. It's like the smell of the 90s to me. Is what it is. It's like that.
All right, so now I got to go back because you flashed that and you were talking about your boyfriend. So the boyfriend in question is your now husband.
Yes.
And that's actually something I really wanted to get into.
Yes.
Name, when did you meet, how long, married, show the ring.
We met the gayest. It's a very pretty ring. It's very pretty, very nice.
It's very sparkly. It's very sparkly.
Yes,
Look at that.
it's very,
Look at that.
it's very nice. We met the gayest way possible.
Right.
We met at theater camp. I'm dead serious. Dead serious. We met at theater camp. Actually, yes, we met at this theater camp that was.
Where was the theater camp?
In Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Actually, my publicist, Michael Strassheim, we also met at theater camp. Here, our Disney amazing publicist, Michael, which is so crazy, right? I know. The gay theater mafia, yes.
Theater mafia.
We met there as well, which is so crazy. Like, we have many mutual friends, and we go back that long ago, which is insane. And now we are working together. It's crazy, like the world and how that. But anyway, we met there. This camp was not. When I say theater camp, I mean it was like. I don't even. It was more than a camp. It was, you know, it was created by the legendary Anne Ranking. I mean, we had teachers like Gwen Verdon, Julie Andrews, you know, Ben Vereen. Like, the list goes on and on and on. Like, those were our teachers.
And there's so many side tangents to go on.
There's so many.
I apologize, but just when you're saying how this like boy from Baltimore, there's like gay chocolate, but were you like, oh my God, Julie Andrews, Ben Vereen?
I mean,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. Like, Gwen Verdon taught me Fosse. Like, she taught me how to like back steps and like Fosse steps. Like, it's crazy, right? And I can't even think.
You can show Fosse step, no pressure.
Oh,
or anything.
well, you know, it's just like a boom, back.
Right, there we go. For the price of admission, right? For the price of admission. Okay,
but she taught me, you know, they taught us this, right? We had teachers who were voice teachers to, like, you know, Barbara Streisand, to like Bernadette Peters.
Wow.
These were voice teachers that Michael and I got to experience. Like, it's crazy.
Michael, if you have any Fosse steps, you know.
He's like, oh no, he's done with that. So like, these were our teachers, and my husband was there, and he likes to say this. So my husband, we were not together. We met there, and you know, he was straight. He was like, you know, he says he likes to say he's not a quitter. Yeah. So which I'm like, well, you've done something I've never done, because I'm a gold star gay. So it's a very different situation. But we met there, and then like 10 years later, we met at a mutual friend's gig here in the city. And we had known each other, obviously, throughout. Like, we had so many mutual friends. We would see each other. He was in LA. I was here. We would, like, kind of run into each other at, like, random things. And then that was 10 years later from when we first met, which was 14 years ago, because we've been together for 14 years. We met at a mutual friend's gig, and we were like watching this concert, and we were at this like small table, and I thought that, because I was like, what's he giving? Like, what's his energy? Like, what's happening? And so I thought he was straight. So I said, so what's your story? That was my opening tagline. Michael, what's your story? And he was like, well, it's complicated. And I was like, I'm in. You know what I mean? Here we go. Well, you can't tell me it's complicated. I'm like, it's complicated. I'm like, okay, yeah. So cut to, we're at this little table, right? And like, I'm like, is he playing like leg footsie with me right now? It was definitely the foot of the table. It was not his leg or his foot at all, and I thought it was. And so I was like, oh, we're like, oh my God, we're gonna be together forever. Like, cut to, he asked me that I was doing Hair, the musical at that time on Broadway, the revival, and he said, what are you doing tomorrow? I was like, well, I have a matinee.
Obviously,
just that. Yeah. Well, I have a matinee. And he was like, okay. He said, well, let me walk you home. He walked me home, and we've been together ever since.
Wow, nice. Where was your first date?
Our first date was at Josie's on the Upper West Side, which is no longer there, actually. It was like on 66, it's like 66 or something like that. And then we walked through Central Park, like to kind of go down, but that was our first date. And then our second date was, we went to Dinosaur Barbecue, because we both are like Southern boys, so we went to barbecue, and he took me there, and we went like uptown, and then we went to the Dinosaur Barbecue at like Harlem, like 125th, like on the west side, and then we walked back, and he was like, let's just walk, walk down or whatever. We walked through, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Where are we? He was like, this is Columbia. And I was like, I had never seen Columbia, and he showed me Columbia. I was like, this is so romantic. It's so beautiful. But it was Columbia. Like, it's like we were there. But so those two dates stand out because they were just like city dates, and it was very Carrie Bradshaw to me. Right? Like, I was like, oh my God, like here we are. You know, in my head,
your Mr. Big. Right?
Yes, absolutely. I was in my little tea-link dress and in my head,
And the wedding, any special about where is the wedding?
Our wedding was in Wine Country, California, just about an hour north of Santa Barbara. My husband is a film director, and we were based in LA for quite some time. And when I originated the Genie in Australia, in Sydney, Australia, and in Melbourne, and so I was back and forth from Australia. Thank you, Diamond status on Delta.
There you go.
And so we would come back and forth. Cut to we would go to Santa Barbara every for little getaways, and we decided to keep going north to this sort of random town, and we read about this place. It was on Condé Nast. It was California's best kept secret. And we're what is this place? And it's just this small little random town that was incredible, had the most amazing little restaurants. There was only 5 restaurants in this little town and the most incredible bakery. And so we would go up there every time. So for our wedding, we got married and we took over the town. There's 3 motels there. We literally took over the town. Had it was and the best thing about the wedding is that there was no the service is not really good, the self-service, so no one could get a hold of anyone. So it was it literally was Hollywood, Broadway, and kind of all combined, and this sort of and then our families, which they all wanted autographs from people, which was hilarious. And we were in the middle of this town, which is ridiculous. But we took over this town, and we wanted to create a weekend of just fun and just away from everything, and that's what we did. And it was just, we love wine, and we got married in Wine Country, and it was just amazing.
Happily ever after, right?
Well, you know, happily ever ish.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we're all, there's always something going on. You
Right.
know, you
There's
gotta.
always some fight.
Marriage is work. You
It
know,
is, right?
and all the things. But it's amazing, and I'm very grateful to a man who. It's this theme of letting me be me. Right. The moment and I've said this before too. The moment I stopped apologizing for Michael James Scott was the moment that my genie really started to soar, and that is it's an incredible moment that happened to me in life as well. When I stopped apologizing for Michael James Scott, which is I think also one of the reasons why, like, you know, boys came into my life. Like there was a attraction, I think, you know, of somebody who was like kind of like, you know, fine with himself,
Yes.
right? And what that was. But this man lets me be me, and I'm a lot.
All right. Wait, and what's his name again?
Jeremy.
Jeremy, to love it, Michael Faria.
It's I'm, you know, as you can imagine, as subtle as my outfit is, that's basically
Hey, we just
how
saw
I am.
you do Fosse on stage, so we know you could be work.
Boom.
We get it, right?
That's
Done.
exactly, yes.
But okay, you did mention one thing. Well, three more questions.
Yes.
So you mentioned you were in Australia for Genie, and then actually maybe, you know, not apologizing for yourself even helped you sort of, you know, bring out your Genie. So just tell us a little bit. I mean, you know, one of the lines of you being here is like, how did you become the longest running, you know, Genie, right? So chart your course from Australia. You were in the North American Touring Company, London's West End,
Yes.
and then all the way back to New York.
So it started, I here in New York City, I was the original standby for the Genie. And the crazy thing is that, like, I, at that point in my career, wasn't doing any kind of standing by. I was on stage. So it was a, it was
that.
but what I knew, and this is a really great, it was a great moment for me with ego, and letting it go, because what I in my head was thinking about was the future. So I was doing the Book of Mormon at the time. I was in the original company of the Book of Mormon. I was doing a matinee, right? Before matinee, as a church. Yes. Doing a matinee. I get a phone call from my agents, and they say, "Can you come in to play the Genie for a reading?" And I was like, "Huh?" Oh, yes. So I just said yes, which is another recurring theme in my life of just saying yes. It's like Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes. That book is so amazing because it's like, it's just been, I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll do it. Cut to, I'm there. I learned the show in the head of the head of Disney Theatricals, the president at the time. It's now we have a shift in leadership now. But Tom Schumacher, who is the legendary Thomas Schumacher, I learned this in his office. I learned the Genie in like a day and a half, and I went. So the original actor who played the Genie, who won the Tony, my brother, James Monroe Iglehart, could not. They had done a production. They had done an out-of-town thing in Seattle. And I was the only person, James was the only person that could not come to sort of to do this reading, and they wanted to sort of give, for like a lot of the Disney executives and stuff, like, these are the changes that we've done to the show. James couldn't come. They called me. Casey Nicola and I had worked together, who's our director choreographer of Aladdin. He was the co-director of Book of Mormon, and also the choreographer of Book of Mormon, and we also did Elf together on Broadway. It's a whole thing, yes. There's a whole thing. I go and I learn this, and that was my audition.
Wow.
I walk in before a matinee at 10 a.m. I'm not even joking. And there were mics set up. I'm like, oh my God, this room is full. It's like a room full of people, like full of people. Disney executives and like all the thing. And I was like, what is happening? So I called Casey over to the corner. I'm like, Casey, what is going on? And he was like, I was like, can you step into my office, please? I was like, oh God. So I was like, Casey, what is happening right now? I said, there's so many people here. I thought this was just sort of like a little thing. He was like, I know, you need to know all of that. But what was amazing is he did, he's so right, because I could not be in my head about it. I had no time to think about it. I just did it. It was like an amazing lesson. And there I was in the room. I go. They asked me from that point, would I stand by for the original Broadway production? And And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I will. I did it for 7 months.
Wow.
Left to go open Something Rotten on Broadway. I see your Aladdin bag. Hello, lovely.
She's standing you right here.
I live. Then that's when in 2016 they asked me to go and originate. Actually, Tom gave me a phone call. He said, "Are you sitting down right now?" And I said, "I can. I'm going to sit down." And he was like, "We want you to go and be our Genie in Australia. We want you to start the show and be our Genie in Australia." And I was like, "Wait, what?" He was like, "Your life is going to change." And literally, it changed.
Had you ever been to Australia before?
I had never been to Australia, none of that. And that is, for me, it was like the craziest journey in what I call my Genie journey. Starting there, I was in Sydney for 9 months, and I was in Melbourne for 7 months. I won their equivalent of the Tony Award, which is the Helpman Award. I won for Best Featured Actor in a Musical. It was on national television, and where I said, "I can't wait to marry," at that time was my fiance, "I can't wait to marry you," which made national crazy news because it wasn't legal in Australia then. And so there I was when like all the things, and it was like, you know, gay Genie says he's gonna marry, you know, like, like all the things. So it was like, it was just crazy. I wasn't even thinking about that, you know. I'm an American and living in Australia, like whatever. So that happened. I leave my Aunt Phyllis, who, going back to Aunt Phyllis, passed away while we were in Australia, and my parents were with me there. And so that was the and I bring my parents, I fly them out to wherever I'm at for them to see me in the show and blah blah blah, all the things, because you know my mom in her high heels, she makes known that's her son. So I brought them to Australia, which that was the first trip my father was ever even out of the country. That was the first time he got a passport. Wow. And he said to my husband and I, "Mikey," because they call me Mikey, guess what? What? He said, "The passport. I got my passport." I said, "Yeah, you got to have a passport to go." He said, "You know what it says?" I said, "What?" He said, "It says, the world is yours." For that man, he had never left the country. He had never traveled. And he went to Australia.
Wow.
So they were there. My aunt passed away. And that was the moment where I thought, I'm too far from home. So I left and, you know, asked Disney gracefully, and they gracefully said, "Absolutely, of course, we support you. Do your thing, you know, go." I left. I come back home. They asked me to open it in California in Los Angeles at the Pantages Theater. I joined the North American tour. I'm there. Then they were like, "Would you do it in London for the?" Okay, no, yes, of course I'll do it in London. Like they're like, "Okay, great. You know, would you come to Broadway and do it?" Like, so it is literally that. And in between there, they asked, "Would you go to your hometown of Orlando, Florida, to do it for a month there and be the Genie in your hometown?" And I got to do that as well.
And you were just in the parade. Wasn't there something you just did at Disney World down there?
Well, I was the Grand Marshal in this year to kick off the Celebrate Soulfully Black History Month. Yours truly was the Grand Marshal in the parade in Orlando, Florida, down there, which was kind of crazy. Yes. It's such a full circle moment. I was a parade performer in high school. Like, I literally was like a Tigger. Like at one point, it was like a very plump Tigger. Like, you know, they were like, it was like Tigger after Thanksgiving dinner. You're like, okay, like, all right, like, but I was, you know, I was a parade performer, like there, and there I was years later, the Grand Marshal of that parade. Like, it was just like full circle. But that says to me, and I've said this before, that literally anything is possible. Anything for any of us is possible.
Okay, so 2 more questions, then we want to take some questions.
Oh my God!
Right? Okay, so 2 more questions. All right, so first of all, I want to ask you, what do you want to do next? I'm going to give you the 2 questions so you can prep. So what do you want to do next in your career? And 2, what do you say to the 13-year-old black gay boy who's watching you in the theater, seeing you, not the dancing spoon, but the Genie?
I say to that boy, I said it before, but the thing the thing that you think is different about you is the thing that's going to one day make you the genie in Aladdin on Broadway and around the world. So keep being different.
All right, good words, good words.
That's say to that little boy, that cute little boy. And next, I mean, you know, it hasn't been written next, the show. It's not been written yet, to be honest with you. So that in terms of like another show, I don't know. But I love my, you know, this Genie journey of mine has taken me into hosting as well. And I love it. I love hosting. I love talking and connecting to people. So there is a world where, like, you know, this hosting thing has been a really fun journey, and what that is, and just connecting. And so there's that. But also music. I've developed my symphonic show, which is really cool. So I'm doing shows with symphonies around the world, and that for me is really exciting, to be able to be me for an audience that is a bit more you know, buttoned up. And so, you know, I kind of get away with a lot of things. That picture says it. Like, as the Genie, I kind of get away with a lot of, you know, with being a little bit more, just a little bit more loose, right? And so I've taken that with me into this world that has been a little bit more buttoned up to kind of play and give a perspective that is not really
a little different, right? Both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. He wants to connect with people. He wants to talk with people, right? So let's start with some questions.
We just have time for two because.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, because your story was fabulous.
Oh.
Maybe we'll throw three in.
Yes.
So really quick.
3.
He said 3.
We'll take it away.
Shelley.
Michael, until you pull us away. There.
The
That's
person
the rule.
who writes my checks. And one more.
All right.
Well, there's 2 right in front of you.
Okay.
Don't be
1,
tough.
2, 3, 4. Quick, come. Okay.
Hi.
Stand
Hi.
up.
I
Say
guess
your
I'm
name.
doing it. Hi, I'm Erin.
Hi, Erin.
So I just wanted to ask, so you've been playing this character for so long, and like every night it's kind of a different audience, like they're seeing it for the first time, but how do you keep the character fresh and find inspiration and like something I'm sure you know down pat?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's great because the Genie is so, you know, right away the curtain comes down and I'm talking to the audience. I break the fourth wall and I directly talk to the audience, which is so different, you know, and it's not a normal thing that happens in shows, and this character to be able to do that. So when you're playing a character that people are like waiting for you to come on stage, they're like, they want to love you, they want to like all those things, there's this amazing energy that happens with like you and the audience. There's an intimacy thing that's just so unlike anything else, and it's literally different every single night, which is why I feel like I've been able to do the Genie as long as I have done it, because it's so different every night. So it fuels me. That energy fuels my need to be ridiculous, you know, and connect and just, you know, give the audience a show. It's literally like this. Like I speak, I'm like, "Salam, good evening, welcome to you, you know, to you." And the crazy thing is the audience, you know, they're like that because they don't believe that like we're talking to them. Like, I'm talking to you, boo. You know what I mean? Like, it's here, we're here. Like, I see you. You look cute tonight too. You know what I mean? You know, welcome, and get ready because here we go. So that's why I'm able to.
Thanks, Erin.
Hi, I'm Noah.
Hi, Noah. Come on, braids. Yes.
Is there a show, if out of all the shows on Broadway, what would you pick to perform in next?
Out of all the shows that perform on Broadway, like right now, maybe like right now, like the shows where.
Whatever.
You know what? I think it might be. I mean, it just might have to be like I would need to play Alphaba. Like I would play Alphaba. and I would finally get my moment that my father did not give me. Like in the air as I scream, defying gravity, as he tells me, "I don't accept you for being gay," and I'm like, "I gotta fly." So maybe it's that. It probably would be that because it's such an epic role. You know what I mean? So I feel like it would be Elphaba. Like that's what it would be.
Hi, Michael. Hi,
Hi.
David. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I know David is looking like, who's talking? Really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation this afternoon. But you had, inquiring minds want to know, what's the town in California where you got married? You just kept saying this town, this town.
Yes.
I want to know so I can visit.
Yes, come up here so we can see your face. Yes. I can't see. I'm coming. She's coming. There. Hello.
How are you guys?
We have a visitor from the block, the block station here.
Yes. Lovely.
And I love your laugh, by the way. It's so hearty.
Oh.
It's really, and I'm like, did you just get used to that laugh from, your role,
No,
or
this
has
has
it always been
my
your laugh? Okay,
It's
I love it.
that's a good hearty. It's like the
Yeah,
heart.
it's a very hearty. It makes me smile.
Well, I
when
love
hear
to
you
laugh.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we need to laugh.
We need
now.
all the laughs.
My
Right.
Lord. Los Alamos.
Okay.
Los Alamos. Some people maybe have heard of Los Olivos, which is like the Paso Robles wine region. It's basically the Paso Robles wine region, but it's Los Olivos is the bigger town. Okay. Los Alamos is the small little town. P.S. Like two of their restaurants. One of them where we had our rehearsal dinner is now a Michelin-starred restaurant. Like it's amazing. It's all like farm to table. Everything is like, I'm going outside and getting my cherries to put on your, you know what I mean? Like, so like, it's that. Like, it's literally, it's that. Like, it's all that. But Los Alamos, look it up.
Okay.
It's incredible.
Thank you.
Yes.
Better than
Thanks,
Condé
guys.
Nast Traveler to listen to.
Yes. Yeah, for real.
All right, I think that's it for questions. All right, I think we're good.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna-
You are totally fabulous.
Oh, well,
this
thank
has been
you.
a great conversation.
Yeah,
We've
thank
learned
you.
so much about you, and
Happy Pride, everyone.
Yes.
You know,
Happy
I mean,
Pride.
and
Yeah.
listen.
And
Before,
David?
before we bid adieu to you,
Yes.
first of all, I want to thank you again. Echo what
Yes.
Sharon said. Incredible. And like I told you before we came on stage, just an incredible story.
Thank
we
you.
read so many interviews about you, and just it really is amazing. And the line to our Pride Month town hall of like, how did you
Yes.
become the longest running Genie? But you're here. So a sweet token of
Oh.
our appreciation. First of all, we'll give you the last one. Here's an Odyssey mug for you.
Yes.
Something, woo, right? Because I'm sure Disney does not have as good things as that. But I'm kidding. But then we have from Baked by Melissa.
Ooh, I love me some Baked by Melissa.
Don't worry, we have Pride Month cupcakes. I'd like you
Yes.
to know, obviously, the proceeds of these will go to the LGBT Community Center here in New York
Yes.
City. So please enjoy
Oh.
every color of the flag.
Yes,
Little ones.
I love that.
Because I hate that I don't want you to go on Broadway with the big cupcakes, though.
Yes, no,
Happy Pride. Bye.
Happy
And this
Pride.
is for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, I'll
Thank
put
you.
these
Thank
in
you.
this
Thank
bag,
you.
And you got your cup. And I'll put
Yes.
these here for you. So again, everyone, a big Broadway applause for Michael. Woo!
Thank
Happy
you.
Pride. This guy's used to a standing ovation. I mean, come on. Right? Take a bow.
Thank you. I
Thank
love
you
it.
so much, everyone, for coming. Very appreciated.
all.
Thank you.